So today, Genshin just revealed their Nord Cry trailer, and if you've been living under a rock, all the main characters of the Nord Cry have been revealed. And obviously, as always, we have to do a breakdown of the trailer and maybe give some theories here and there. Trailer starts with some woman saying, "Do you want to hear the story of the moon?" Which means the whole arc and quest of Nord Cry gonna be revolving around the moon. They've been hyping the moon stuff for like 3 months, so it was obvious. But then we see our first character, a chibi pink-haired girl. This girl is like owner or a friend to Inefab, and this girl is actually talking to Varka, the real grandmaster of Mondstadt, one of the most hyped character in Genshin Impact, and he's like sharpening his sword and some shit. Then scene cuts to Ineffa with a blonde haired girl, and she actually looks like a Zenless Zone character. And I know a lot of people are gonna be like, "Oh, these characters doesn't have Genshin vibe. They don't look like Genshin is," and fuck them. But it's not the blonde girl who's interesting. It's the person she's talking to. She's actually talking to Durin. We finally got to see the face. You should know in 5.6 Argon Quest, Durin became a human and we finally got to see him and he looks very cool. I just hope they gave him dragon animation. Newlith was a disappointment. Like, he's a dragon, but none of his design is dragon. His animations are not dragon. So I hope they give Durin dragon animation like Withering Waves character. Then we see a female voice talking about how there was a primordial being and this primordial being made the three moon sisters, and this primordial being could most likely be Dragon King Nibelung, because well, he is the primordial being. He was the ruler, the great king of the primordial Teviat. Like, I can see him being the creator of the three moon sister. And then we see a blue haired guy and he's like tall, hot looking guy, and yeah, finally people had complaints with Nateland, no male playable 5-star except for Kinney. So I guess yeah, now we got more. We got Varka and we got this blue haired guy and probably someone else gonna be playable, which they haven't revealed. And then we see the female was talking about how some time ago a primordial voice cried out of darkness, and by some time they mean obviously Genshin, hundreds of years ago time. This is why I think it could be Dragon King Nibelung, because we know Dragon King Nibelung was first killed by Heavenly Principal, but then he returned hundreds of years ago. He returned again with power from outside the world, most likely Abyss power, and then Dragon King Nibelung fought Heavenly Principal again. He lost again, but so this primordial being who created the moon and primordial voice who cried out of darkness could be Dragon King Nibelung. It could be someone else. And then we see a Harbinger. I'm pretty sure that's the 10th Harbinger. Don't give a fuck about her, because the whole hype about Harbingers is their ranking, how strong they are, and this is like 10th Harbinger, second weakest. Her mecha is pretty interesting though. The machine which is holding her looks pretty much like Khanria machines, so could be some connection to Khanria with her, but other than that I don't give a fuck about her. And then we see what I think is gonna be the Archon equivalent of Nord Cry, the blue haired elf girl. She introduced herself as the emissary of the Frost Moon. They're like worshippers and followers of the Frost Moon. We still don't know her name, but I think this girl's gonna be like the center of Nord Cry. Every nation's story revolves around the Archon. Archons are the main character of their nations, so I think she's gonna be the Archon equivalent of Nord Cry. Then we see a green haired girl. Her hairstyle is pretty much like Yellen, but she's very different and very cool looking. Like probably my 4th or 5th favorite design in the trailer, and she's actually talking to Varka. And then we get Varka's reveal. My god, my glorious king Varka. There is no one more hyped for Varka than me. The reason I'm so hyped for Varka is because he shares the same voice actor as Gintoki from Gintama, Tomikazu Sugita-san, and Gintama is like my favorite anime of all time, so I'm really hyped for Varka. To see Sugita-san in Genshin is really hyped. And then this green hair girl talk about a blonde girl, and this blonde girl, she looks a little bit like Karthisia from Withering Waves. Her design is actually pretty cool, and we see wings coming out of her back. This blonde haired girl could be Nicole. If you don't know, Nicole is one of the witches of the Hexen Circle, and Skirk has a voice line about her randomly. She is also the witch who helped her in Fontaine. If you remember, in Fontaine you talk to a witch from Hexen Circle. That's Nicole. And Skirk randomly have a voice line about Nicole. It makes me think that Nicole's gonna be playable or at least part of story sooner or later. But this blonde hair girl talks about some primordial voice aiming their claws at the stars, which is interesting. Like, what kind of primordial voice is aiming for the stars? Is it the Dragon King again? Is it something else from Abyss? Like, because the dragon boss in Nateland keep telling us to kneel against in front of someone, so there is definitely some big bad dude in Abyss. Could be some completely different thing. And then we see the blue haired elf girl again, and she got daggers in her hand, which got me interesting. Like, is she gonna be the first playable character with daggers, or is the dagger just for like ceremony, not gonna be the part of her actual play kit? But I'll be really hyped to see a dagger character. Interesting to see how they will work out. Like, the closest we have got to a dagger character in Genshin is Kuki Shinobu, who just throws dagger quickly. After the blue haired elf girl, we see the blue haired guy, the hot guy, and the shadows are aiming at him. like as if they're trying to possess him. He's like, you got the wrong person, get the fuck out of here. And he just like blows the shadows away, which interesting. Like these shadows are looking for a host, like host they're looking for. And then we see the second biggest part of the trailer, Columbina reveal. Columbina is talking about some life and time. And then we get the biggest reveal of the trailer, Alice being revealed. Again, I still don't think they will make Alice playable. And I'm all for Alice, make her playable. I am very hyped, but I don't think like Alice is too precious. There's like top 3 most hyped character in Genshin after like Dying Sleeve. And Alice talks about this place is in worse condition than the last she visited, which obviously makes sense that Alice have been everywhere on Tevia. You can actually read her guidebook about every place on Tevia. And then Alice says she's here to meet an old friend, which I think is gonna be the blue-haired elf girl. She's Alice's best friend, because in the trailer the elf girl talks about how my friend from the Hexen Circle and stuff. So, and then we see Skara, like the least hyped part of the trailer. Like he is here, so he's gonna play some role. But yeah, him and Albedo were like, I don't really give a fuck about them. I want to see the new characters. We don't see second Harbinger though. That's one thing, because like Mavika said, second Harbinger base is in Node Krai, and we don't see second Harbinger both in teaser and trailer. There's no trace of him. It's gonna be like Sumeru all over again. Like second Harbinger is just gonna be on the sidelines, and main Harbinger gonna be someone else. In this case, it's gonna be Columbina. Columbina is gonna be the main villain, the main playable Harbinger character. But I think second Harbinger will play a bigger role compared to what he did in Sumeru. But I still don't think he's the main Harbinger here. I still think he's gonna play a bigger role compared to Sumeru here, but yeah. I'm personally most hyped for Varka, and other characters look cool, like the blue-haired guy. He looks very cool. The blue-haired elf girl looks very cool. The blonde girl also looks very cool. And yeah, that was it. I am personally very hyped for Node Krai, but before that we have to survive 5.8. So let's get through this update, and then we'll be here for the Node Krai. And yeah, see ya.